as industry leaders in our business communities, we've got to show up. We've got to show up and lead and look at how are we choosing to move forward? How are we choosing to see this? What are the decisions that we want to make as we move forward? Because, we're going to be that ripple effect.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 251. And today, let's discover the mindset we need to grow a mid-6 to 7-figure business during the most unprecedented times. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, authority amplifier to expertpreneurs. And today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, mindset. I've been speaking on stages all over the world on mindset for close to 21 years now. And there's no conversation that's more exciting, more energizing, more inspiring and transformational than to really dial in our thinking. It's why I like being around other high vibe entrepreneurs and people who are doing the work to transform the way they think and the way they shape their reality. One of my favorite sayings is we can create our own economy, and there is no better time than to tap into the mindset required to be the person who can pull off any kind of success we want. So my guest today is joining us to talk about mindset, and I want to share a resource with you. First of all, keep your eyes open. We are going to be doing Create Your Own Economy again this year. And if you're not in my community, you definitely want to get in my community because you do not want to miss this. I am lining up some amazing resources and guests to share their wisdom around this. But I also want to share something tangible you can put into action right now to take that mindset and then take steps that will actually make an impact to your business. It's called Your Revenue Rush. It is a toolkit with 10 of my most favorite proven revenue growth techniques. These are things that create instant cash into your business. There are 10 different ones, and depending on where you're at in your business and what you're looking for, you can try one, you can try them all, but these are important tools to have in your toolbox because there will be moments you want to rev up the revenue and you want to make sure you have the right strategies that will work to do so when you need it most. Head over to yourrevenuerush.com and download your toolkit. Make sure you keep it handy and implement at least one of them this month and tell me how it works for you. Now, let's get into mindset with our guest. Welcome back, Amplifiers. I am so excited. We're talking mindset shifts today. And as we are going live with this episode, we are still in some unprecedented times. Like stuff is happening today that we never imagined in a million years, or at least 100 years. And we're going to ask our expert today how we can shift our mindset to keep booming our business while we're navigating these unique times. So let me introduce you to our guest, Eva Gregory. She is an award-winning transformation catalyst and a business mentor helping established coaches, thought leaders, and spiritual entrepreneurs worldwide scale to 6 figures and beyond by integrating inner guidance with proven business strategies that are working today in an ever-changing market. Her combination of practical, step-by-step business training and intuitive spiritual awareness is what sets her apart from others in her field. Now, Eva is the author of the Feel Good Guide to Prosperity and Life Lessons for Mastering the Law of Attraction, co-authored with none other than Jack Canfield, and is now published in several languages worldwide. And she has received the Law of Attraction Leaders Award 2 years in a row, as well as the California Excellence Award, and was named one of the top women in e-commerce and named International Coach of the Year. Eva, I had no idea you had so many cool accolades that you have racked up. No wonder. I know you are awesome. I've known you for many years, but I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you because you are one of the people who I truly believe, I often talk about creating your own economy, and I think you're one of the people who has a tool and a set of resources that actually help people do that. And by the way, I'm excited to have you back this year for Create Your Own Economy giveaway.
I know, I'm very excited to be part of that as well.
So talk to me about the craziness that we've been going through collectively, especially those of us in the event world and whose businesses have been deeply impacted and lives have been impacted by these unprecedented last 2 years.
Yes, things have changed.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
What are you seeing happening around that?
Well, what I'm seeing we have to do is we have got to really take time together and gain our perspective, because it's so easy for us to really get taken down a black hole with everything that's going on. It's almost like, we're finding ourselves on quicksand. We've not done this before, okay? And for me, I'm just a huge advocate of starting with the inside out rather than from the outside in. And perspective is everything when it comes to moving forward in our businesses or in life in general, really. But also, even in times like this, to look at the opportunity versus what's not working and the challenges. Yeah, there's challenges. I get that. Okay. And I don't know anybody who hasn't been affected one way or the other through these times, the pandemic. I mean, it's a combination of things, this pandemic and economy. I mean, and political, everything's been in such an upheaval, right? And I don't know anybody who has not been affected, whether it was a family member who has been in the eye of the storm, or there's been financial loss in the family, or changes in the business, or people who have been laid off. It's like no matter where we are, we have been facing unprecedented challenges, and we're in a situation and we're in a landscape right now that none of us have navigated before, ever. I mean, we've navigated recessions, right? We've navigated economic decline, but never a pandemic and an economic decline and a political upheaval all at the same time, right?
Right.
and so this is what we're going on 2 years, right, as of right now. And so I think that most people realize this isn't going to be a quick transition. And we can probably expect at least another year or two of this before things start to really things will settle, right? But before things really settle down and get to some sense of normalcy, whatever that is. Right?
Yeah, I think everybody refers to it as we've entered a new norm.
Absolutely.
And so, like, if we talk to the people who are sharing this industry with us, the people who have their own business, and maybe even they're building a business around their expertise, their coaches, their consultants, their healers, their change agents, we're not going to be able to rely on things of the past, strategies of the past, ways of attracting clients.
Yeah.
And so, like, where does it start? Like, what do we have to really look at to become one with this new norm, so we're not fighting it and resisting it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is where I look at it like we're all leaders and we need to be leading rather than resisting and fighting. And there's a lot of fighting going on out there and a lot of pushing back going on. But as industry leaders and our business communities, we've got to show up. We've got to show up and lead and look at how are we choosing to move forward? How are we choosing to see this? What are the decisions that we want to make as we move forward? Because, we're going to be that ripple effect. We are the ripple effect that's happening, and it is impacting us in more ways than none. And the other thing is to say, guys and gals, we are all in this together. We're all in this together. And so we've got to decide how do we make smart decisions, right? How do we make smart decisions based on where do we want to emerge on the other side of this? Because there's a lot of knee-jerk reaction that's been happening. but we've got to, get centered for a minute and look at, okay, here's what's happening. And so now what do we need to be doing for ourselves as well as for our communities? Whether that's our client, our family, of course, our family or our communities or our clients, our followers. And so what are the decisions that we're going to be making now that are going to have us land on our feet and continue to land on our feet during the middle of this, okay? And so how do we look at what needs to happen to move to the other side? I mean, so much has happened, so much innovation has happened as a result of all this. There's a lot of goodness that has come out of this, right? And it's hard sometimes for people to really realize that, hey, there was a beginning to this, there will be an end to it. There will be. There's a start and a finish, and there will be another side to come out of, okay? And there's going to still be some fluctuation, okay? So we have the pandemic has happened, and it looked like things were settling down, and then they started shaking up again. Well, guess what? That's what, get used to that. There's no flip of a switch right now, okay? It could probably last a few years, but here's the bottom line, and this is really what I really want people to understand. It's still temporary. It is temporary. It is. And we are in the situation. We will come out of the situation. The question is how do you want to come out of this situation? And we've been in business for a while, okay? We have. Some people are newer at it, but we've been in it long enough to know that, there's ebb and flow in everything, right? So we have got the ebb and flow in the economy. We've been through recessions. We have been through upheaval before. And so what that means is, if that's the case, then let's look at this as that way too, okay? It's just another ebb and flow that's going on right now. And the businesses build up and they break down, but we need to look long term, all right? And we need to be looking at where do we want, how do we want to lead now? And what are not the challenges, what are the opportunities in all of this? What are the opportunities? Do you remember there was, I wish I could remember, I'm so bad with jokes. But I think it was Reagan, he told the story of the two boys. One was a pessimist, one was an optimist. And I guess the psychologist was trying to get the pessimist to be more of an optimist and to do the other. Anyway, whatever it was, I'm trying to remember it. But the optimist, they put them in a room with a bunch of horse manure. And the optimist was just digging into the manure. And he came and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere." Right? I mean, that's kind of the way we need to look at this right now, so that we can make those smarter decisions and look at what are the opportunities that we have here. Okay, you talked about the new norm. It's kind of like this is the end of the world as we know it. Right? It really is. And what I mean by that is it's already emerging differently. We've already seen that. Look, what I found interesting for us, for me, for sure. I mean, Zoom has been around for a while. Zoom is not new. And yet with all this that came up, all of a sudden, Zoom was new to so many people. But the education is looking different. Industries are looking different. Our industries are looking different. I'm thinking of, I have clients that live for the speaking, the live events, right? And here we are getting innovative about doing things more online. So all kinds of innovations are happening, changes to the business climate, to our lives, spending habits. And so how we show up is important too, and how we interact with other people as well. And so everything that we're doing now, that where I encourage you to come from is how can I be of a positive impact right now?
Yeah. How can we, no matter what's going on around us, make the decisions and the choices that cause me to thrive or move towards thriving, right? It's like, I keep thinking of the book Man's Search for Meaning as you're talking, which I'm sure you've read. Mm-hmm. And, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the book, I'll link it up in the show notes. But I had a coach of mine ask me to read it. I think it was 21 years ago, because at that time I was in the first of 3 recessions, right? So I started my business as we moved into the 9/11 recession, because I started my business a year before that happened, and I had given notice 7 days before 9/11 happened. And so I was in it, like I was out of my corporate job and I was in it, and I had to figure it out, and I was scared. And of course, we've had 2 more recessions since then. And he gave me the book, Man's Search for Meaning, and said, I need you to read this, and I need you to decide what reality you're going to create right now. It was some of the most profound guidance I was ever given, because what he was basically telling me was, yes, all this is going on around us, but you can choose to create whatever reality you want in your mind. And that's how people thrive in really scary times, no matter what's happening around them. And I think that's what we're talking about here. And so, mindset was a big part of that book. And I'm just kind of curious, our theme today is mindset. What do you think is the mindset we need to really embrace? Like, I heard a couple of things in what you just said, but I want to just really see if we could hone in. If we could make one shift in our thinking, one shift in our mindset, what does that shift need to be so we can also thrive right now?
Absolutely. The first thing I want to say about it is whatever's going on, it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. That is what, as human beings, we put the judgment on it. And so that, and even that is to understand, no matter what's going on mindset wise, we do get to choose. And I love that you just, we get to create our reality. And I can go down all kinds of rabbit holes with that one. But the point is we can see it as a challenge, or we can see it as an opportunity. Okay. That's one thing right there. We can choose to be victim mode, or we can choose to be hopeful. And the difference between that fear and hopeful is the difference in what you create, right? So we want to look at this as an opportunity, and to see, because there's always opportunity in everything, always. And what is it? So we have an opportunity, speaking of opportunities, to ride the wave of what is happening and unfolding versus getting caught up in that undercurrent. All right. Yeah. And so even with this, mindset is a choice. It is a choice. Do you know, mindset is a decision. Now, I know that we have to work through some limiting beliefs and knee-jerk reactions and habits of thought that have been ingrained in us since we were barely talking, really. But in this, we are at choice, and we can look at how do we want to move forward now? We can look at how do we choose to think? What are we choosing to focus on? We could see this as a very, very dark period, or we could see this as an opportunity and the silver lining. Yes, it does. Every cloud has a silver lining. I get that. But it's true, people. I'm just saying. It's true. And so what if I can't make it? What if I don't get the clients? What if my business goes under? That's what I call the what if down game. What if success is your only option? What if success is your only option? What would you be thinking? Where would you be focused? Who would you be talking to? It's a different place that you would automatically be going versus what if I fail? Huge difference. And everything in front of that question, what if success is my only option, you won't even see if you're focused on what if I fail. Huge.
I love that. There's another saying, Eva, that I think plays into this, and you're probably going to get to this in a minute, but I'll just throw it in the mix. Yeah. What if everything that's happening right now is happening for me instead of to me or against me?
What is happening? Yeah, and you know where I put it? What if everything is happening for me in spite of me? It's like the universe is conspiring for you in spite of you, okay? That's how I look at it. But it really is looking at that and understanding, because what we don't see, we're down here in the trenches as human beings, and we're dealing with the stuff. Getting spiritual on you, but our higher selves and the greater known source energy or whatever, it's at the 400 billionth thousandth level, right? We're in the trenches. Our higher selves understand, and this is where we have to go within and get into our hearts, not in our heads. This is where the fear comes in. Gremlin versus guidance, right? And so to be looking at that and knowing that it is not possible to not have a solution or an outcome for anything that is going on. That, by the way, is law of attraction 101. You can't have something. You can't have a desire, by the way. You can't have a desire or a dream that's in the core of who you are that you don't have more than you could ever imagine available to you. And this is no different. This is no different. And so we have to assume the best, that there is a pony in here somewhere. Okay.
I love that metaphor, by the way. It's so good.
What's that?
I love that metaphor. It is so perfect. And I want to, I'm sorry for interrupting, but there's something I want to make sure we get to here. And I want to normalize something for a moment, because I know there may be people listening to this and they will start to think to themselves, yeah, but they don't know what I've been going through. Right. And so I want to pull the curtains back a little bit, and I want to share and be completely transparent. The last 2 years have been really hard for me. Yeah. And I was not immune to anything that was happening. I had people die of COVID that were close to me. I lost my stepmom in the middle of what was happening, and my family blew up. Like literally everyone that was important to me, literally everything shifted in a matter of 30 days. And people moved away that were close to me. My husband didn't work for 9 months. And what I want to bring into this is, because we all have struggles. We all have failures. I had things that worked. I had things that didn't work. There is a shift in our thinking. There is a way of being that causes us to succeed despite what's happening around us, versus people who drop into the energy of the problem and get stuck there and can't get back out. Yes. And all of that was going on. And I had to choose who I was going to be and how I was going to show up. I mean, not to get too deep into create your own economy, but that giveaway emerged because I'm like, I'm not going to fall apart based on what's happening around me, even though it was scary and there were a lot of really challenging things going on. Yeah. We choose our reality. So I'm curious, like, what do you see as the difference in people who are succeeding despite what's happening around them?
You know what? It's exactly what you're saying. It doesn't mean everything's great because I'm thinking positive thoughts. That is not what we're talking about here. It means that we have to stick it through it, even in the hard stuff. We still deal with the hard stuff, but some days we do let it take us down, right? But then you get back up and you know, wait a minute, I know that there's something beyond this. And it is that mindset that says, hey, I don't, whatever's going on, we will get through it. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I'm choosing to focus forward. And even that sounds simple, or maybe even sounds trite. It is work. It takes effort. It takes consciousness to keep bringing yourself back. When you get slapped down one way and you pick yourself up and it slaps you down the other way, and then something else happens and you pick yourself back up again. And so it's not like, oh, I've just decided that we're going to surf the wave. That's really ideally what we want, to be able to learn how to ride the wave. But we are getting caught up in that undercurrent. We are. But you also, that will take you back out of it. So it's not that it's just this easy ride, but it is where you come out on the other side of this. The other thing about all of this, which is the contrast, right? Contrast always creates stronger rockets of desire within us. And that is most of the time what's pulling us through. And if there weren't certain things going on, and contrast doesn't have to be chaos and conflict, or crisis, but many times it is, right? But it is that creates those rockets of desire to want something else, which creates that energy in us that, we still have to fight our way through it, perhaps, but it keeps us going. It keeps you going. And that's really the difference in those who make it and those who don't, right? I mean, I've got a perfect example of a couple of my clients who were in jobs, and there's no control when you're in that job, and so what do? They saw it as an opportunity to go into business. And then I have others who are in business saying, oh, my business is going to go under because there's nobody here to kind of, wow, look at the difference in those two, perspectives. And it makes a difference, but it means you just got to get back up. You got to get back up again.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen this too, but it's almost like there's a resilience that you have to tap into to say, this or something better. Like, I'm going to shoot my arrow this direction. And if I keep like bouncing off the wall and I'm not hitting the bullseye, then maybe I need to point my arrow in a slightly different direction, but I'm still going to be shooting my arrow.
Absolutely.
And we have a common friend who I was catching up with the other day, and she told me she launched a whole new business as COVID was opening up because of her own personal like passion of where she wanted to go. And it just like everything tanked, nothing worked.
Yeah.
Because nobody wanted to be having that conversation when the world was upside down. And so she's like, okay, pivot. Like, I'm going to go back to something I know works. And she has had the most success she's ever had in her entire 15-year career because she listened to the pivot. And I've heard so many stories of that. And that's what I think, for me, that's one of the habits that highly successful people do that allow themselves to add more 6 figures, more 7 figures, is to call it when it's not working and pivot to something that will work better.
I mean, that is such an operative word there, pivot. But it's still, you've got to put the stake in the ground and move until you find it's not working. But you have to move. And then you find that, and then you can choose to pivot. What happens with some people is they don't want to move, and they're trying to figure it out from where they are. And it's like, it doesn't matter, right, wrong, or otherwise. You've got to move, right? You've got to move. I mean, that's GPS, right? You can code in the GPS, but if you don't hit the accelerator, it's not going to help. And then if you need to detour, you'll find that along the way. But you've got to do that. You've got to move. So I love that word, pivot. But it is looking at, and what I'm hearing here also is like, okay, how do I reinvent myself? There's a lot of that going on. How do you react? How do you respond? How do you reinvent yourself? And it's that art of reinvention that's allowing a lot of people to continue to create success in their businesses and to elevate and to rise, even in the midst of all the challenges that we're facing. And no matter what the setbacks are, I mean, you got to move, people. You got to take that action. I have what I call, and this is where a lot of it comes from. We talk mindset, especially mindset, prosperity. That all still comes from a greater knowing that we all have our connection, right? Our inner guidance. And so I call it my inner GPS, which is my inner guidance powered by spirit. Okay.
I like that.
Inner GPS. But even with that, we have to move. We have to take an action. We have to choose to shift our perspectives. We have to do the work, right? It doesn't happen for us. And yet, we're being guided all the time to what's our next step. But then we've got to be the one to take the step. And this is where I see mindset gets in the way. Even when you're being guided, if you've got a limiting mindset, then you don't listen, you don't take the actions. And so there's this, it's like these two go hand in glove. It's like mindset and inner guidance, those two for me. And so you've got to have the right mindset, or you even won't trust your guidance that you're being given.
I love this inner GPS that is coming out here. I want to draw a distinction because I think you're going to have something really powerful about this. Because I know people, and I certainly went through a stage of this where they think they're listening to their inner GPS, but what's really coming through is their fear. Yeah. And fear is showing up as the logic brain, right?
Yeah.
So what is your advice to someone who's really trying to fine tune the inner GPS and the fear keeps taking it over? And how do they know the difference?
Oh, such a good question. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I call it, you've got guidance on one shoulder, your gremlin on the other, all right? I think the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other. The same thing with guidance in your fear, right? So Guidance is subtle. Guidance feels lighter. Guidance feels expansive. It's not very loud and obnoxious. Fear, see, and it comes from within your heart. You feel it in your heart, okay? Gremlin is up here in your head. It's where you want to get into the logic. Well, that doesn't make sense. I should be doing this over here. And then you're overriding the guidance that you were given in your heart. There's not necessarily logic in guidance, okay? That's one thing for sure. But you can tell the difference because your gremlin, as I call it, or your fear, feels heavy. It feels restricted. It feels constricted, right? It's very tight and closed. And so you can feel the difference in that. If you take a moment and think, how does this feel? Does this feel like or relief? And by the way, your guidance is also going to call you outside of your comfort zone. And there's a difference in being outside your comfort zone and being outside of alignment with your guidance too. Same thing, right? So being outside your comfort zone it's not going to be that fear constricted. There might be there's a fear of an unknown outside the comfort zone. But it's like, just come out. Your comfort zone is this very limited place. And this is where we grow and expand. This is life. And so now we're having to get out and it's feeling a little shaky out here. And then all of a sudden, it settles in. And now you've got a much bigger comfort zone until the next time you're asked to step out of your comfort zone. And it feels a little bit wobbly, but then it will settle down. And so we've got to pay attention to that as well. Is this outside my comfort zone or is this out of alignment? And again, out of alignment does not feel good. And there's a fear in the comfort zone thing, but there's almost like this excitement, like I want to do it. Kind of, am I really going to do it? Versus absolutely not. This is life-threatening. This doesn't feel good to me. There's a big difference in that, but we have to get sensitive to it. You have to get into present moment. Just stop for a minute and feel your way in the two. And even if this makes no sense whatsoever, but it feels so much better. That's your guidance. That's your guidance. And guidance, just like with the GPS, we don't get the full directions from point A to point Z. We get put your GPS and it tells you so far. And until you get there, then it'll tell you what's next. We never get the full picture. And in the same way, driving at night, you can only see 200 feet in front of you. You got to keep going to be able to see what's next. And that's the difference as well. And fear is just feels shut down, and it can be very obnoxious and loud. Very obnoxious and loud. But expansive versus constrictive, those are the biggest telltales.
You're talking my language. This is exactly the way I see it and how I teach it. And I love the way you took it out into this level of clarity when fear is speaking versus not. So, Eva, I could talk to you for hours. Like, just so many good things you have that help people drop into vibrational alignment with thriving, like finding the way to bring that 6-figure, 7-figure growth into their life. And I know you've got to have a great resource out there, a first step, a way for someone to start this journey with you. What would be the best place for someone to learn more about you and your work?
Well, I would invite you to, or invite them to join what I call the Divine Client Jumpstart. Okay. And it's 5 steps to calling in your divine high-end clients without selling your soul. And it is about clearing the pathway energetically, all the things we've been talking about here, basically, to getting to that point where you have those investing in what you offer instead of just interested in what you offer. And there's 5 steps to it. There's 5 little videos. The first one is uncovering the true essence of who you're here to serve. The second is looking at the gremlins, right? The biggest lies that are getting in the way of you attracting those clients and building your business. Step 3 is releasing that lie and those limiting beliefs and drop into the truth. for you and your divine clients. And then step 4 is creating that vision to transform your business. And step 5 is then how to then laser focus only on those who are your divine client and being true to that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, good. So I will link this up in the show notes for you. But tell me if I got this right. DivineClientJumpstart.com.
Correct.
That's where people can get that great resource. I love it so much. I hope you, as you're listening in, will get on board and get Eva's resource, because what I think we have to do right now is put a lot of the logic aside and hone the inner realms, the God-given resources that we have, which is our intuition, our energy, our sense of oneness with the thing that we do well on this planet. And when we shape those things into powerful magnets, really, like they become magnets for more of that. And so you have such a great way of helping people with that. So Eva, I like to end my conversations with people just getting to know you a little bit more on a personal level, because we've talked a lot about mindset, and I know you've probably had to do a lot of this work yourself to get where you are today. What would you say is the boldest thing you've ever done to get to the place you are right now in business?
I would probably say, well, there's so many. I would say, especially in alignment with what we're talking about today, was when my mate Robin and I had software company together, and we were going down the tubes. We were going down the tubes, laying people off, couldn't pay our bills, had creditors after us personally, creditors after us in the business. And at 3 a.m, I got this message saying, Eva, you're not walking your talk. You understand energy alignment and you understand law of attraction. Take the understanding of that into the company and help them understand it, and start shifting the energy in the company, starting with you. That was, we need to be making sales. We need to get a consultant in here. We need to be, getting clients. And what I was told to do, this is where we talk about, it's not logical, people, not logical. And to be honest, I felt like I had nothing left to lose by doing that. But that's what I did. I took that into the company and we started shifting the energy of the company. Now, we did what we needed to keep the doors open the best we knew how, but this was the focus. And within 9 months of going from almost bankrupt to someone knocking on our door and saying, we want to buy you out, lock, stock, and barrel, and then going from that to a 7-figure sale for that business. That was trusting guidance and having the mindset enough to trust that even though this wasn't logical, it was the thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. That's beautiful. Trust in the unknown is some of the boldest leaps of faith we will ever have to make. Okay, I've got one other question, and this is always a fun one. If you were to go back to the beginning of you as a business owner, and knowing what you know now, what's one thing you wish you would have done sooner?
I think it's to actually live and lead from my inner guidance rather than looking outside myself for the answers to what I needed to do to grow my business.
Yeah, that's powerful. What do you think would have been different?
It would have been a much easier ride. It would have then cut out a lot of years of pain and agony and loss. And it would have been a lot easier to be, I'm in my bliss right now. I just love what I do, but boy, it was not necessarily an easy ride to get here. Years. I would have cut years off of that struggle.
Yeah, I agree. I is one of the things that took me a long time to figure out myself. And I love that you're saying it, because I literally feel like you're saying me. And what was my great, the biggest delay was me learning to trust my own inner guidance. And so I love that I have a sister in that.
Oh, yes. And by the way, can I just say one more thing? It doesn't mean I don't struggle. It doesn't mean that I have my bad days. It doesn't mean that I don't have challenges, but I have what I need to navigate through them in a way I never did before.
Yes. I feel like when you have tools like this, you can dip, but you don't drown.
Yes, I love that. That's
Yeah.
good.
And so we learn to dip. I'm thinking of like, if you ever gone parasailing and how, if you haven't, I'll try and visualize. When I went parasailing, the one and only time, you're up soaring high and the guy driving the boat just slows down. So you dip your toes and you think you're going to fall right into the water, and he surges again and you pop right back up. To me, that's what the tools that you're explaining today are like, is you know, that challenge happens. You start to kind of dip your toe in the water and you're like, okay, this is not where I want to be. And, you know, we activate the tools and we soar again. And
Absolutely.
I don't know, that's what I was hearing as you're explaining it.
Absolutely. That's a great picture.
Eva, thank you so much for joining me today. I love talking mindset. I love talking mindset with you. You have such an exquisite resource to share, and I hope everybody will take advantage of it, because I want you to have these tools too. DivineClientJumpstart.com, and make sure you connect with Eva, follow her on social. She shares the best stories there, and just keep finding that inner guidance system that you have. All right, we'll see you all soon. Thanks, Eva.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.